What if I told you that you can tell when a restaurant in your market is about to close? Now, this is probably not any different than what anybody else can probably notice as well. So that doesn't necessarily just relate to drivers. But if I'm going to be fair here, these are signs that a restaurant in your market is about to close. These are market shifts that, again, I say that you should be paying attention to. Because if you notice that a restaurant's about to disappear, you want to be analyzing it for what it's going to do to that particular genre of restaurant and how it's going to affect the overall viability of orders in my market. So I'm going to explain this to you real quickly here, and I'm going to have a real life example along the way too. Pizza Hut just closed here in Forest Lake, Minnesota about 3 weeks ago. The signs were there and they're flashing in full sight, and let me give you a couple of them. One, there was an entire weekend where the dining room was absolutely closed. This is a sign of labor struggles. This is a sign that they cannot either afford the labor or they cannot find the labor for a restaurant. In the case of this Pizza Hut, it was a little bit of both. This is something that is a sure sign of trouble if they cannot maintain a dining room, if they resort only to delivery and carry out orders, mostly done through the apps. So they've basically become a ghost kitchen because they cannot afford to maintain a dining room and the labor that is required to keep it up and to serve customers. As it stands, this is really a big trouble sign for a sit-down restaurant like this Pizza Hut was. It was an original red roof. So if they can't afford to pay $2 an hour to servers to wait on tables, that's a big problem. Big problem. This happened the 2 weekends before they actually closed. So dining room closures are a big red flag that a restaurant is about to close. Another one that's a little bit more long term. So this is where you can see the forest from the trees, if you will, is if a restaurant is starting to rely heavily on its app or delivery business and their dining room is truly struggling. The Perkins here has had this going on for quite some time. Again, they run a ghost kitchen. The reason why ghost kitchens are so popular is because they can pretend to be a local establishment when they're really not. So they can deceive customers this way. So Papa Corazon's Quesadillas and Mr. Beast's Burger are shown on the DoorDash app as local restaurants, but they're really not. They're really Perkins in disguise. They are not. The food is made at Perkins. You pick it up at the Perkins. And again, you combine that with the fact that this place is struggling with its dining room and its customers base is very aged at this point. There's no reason for anybody under the age of 60, for example, to sit down at this place because the food is very generic, very basic, and honestly is probably largely provided by Cisco, which is the nation's largest and most dominant food wholesaler. If a restaurant is largely serving Cisco food, they don't have anything unique to offer. You combine all of that in this case, and I think they have about a year left to survive. In my market, Burger King has also faced a combination of factors as well. Their dining room is virtually empty every time I show up. Their drive-thru line is virtually empty every time I show up. And they also had a couple weekends where their dining room was closed, like the Pizza Hut. I think at this point, their closure is very imminent at this point. How much time do I give them? Hard to tell, but this place is just absolutely on its last legs. The worst part about it is if they're next door to a strong competitor, and in this case it's Culver's. The Burger King and the Culver's are practically neighbors to each other. And Culver's is a place where I struggle with pickup times because they're so busy. You gotta wait in the line to do a pickup. You gotta wait behind customers. And again, I don't like to cut in front of actual dining room customers at a counter in a restaurant, particularly a fast food one, because it makes it look like I'm cheating. Occasionally they'll see me there with my phone and call me up, in which case that's different. I have no problem jumping in front if the staff summons me to come forward and get the order. This happened at the Culver's This happened at the Culver's the other day here in Forest Lake. So they're completely crushing Burger King in almost every visible and probably non-visible fashion and form. Because Culver's offers unique food. They offer dessert, very, freshly made desserts, freshly made burgers, fresh, never frozen. They truly do have flavorful burgers. I order them all the time. Burger King is frozen food. Very poorly maintained restaurants. This one looks like it's from the 1970s. A dining room is never kept up, and in this particular case, a dining room that is never staffed. A closed dining room limited only to pickup and delivery. So this is a restaurant that I believe is also on the way out. But what about you? What about your market? Do you have any restaurants which have any of these particular factors in them? Because if you do, take notes. So I'm taking notes on this one. How would the closure of the Burger King impact my market? Very minimally, because they're doing very poorly. I don't think it would result in a rush of orders for the Culver's next door. The closure of the Pizza Hut did not result in a boom for Papa John's, for example. The Papa John's is just the same as they've always been. They didn't pick up any business from Pizza Hut because the Pizza Hut didn't have anything left to offer. Now, if in the case of the Perkins, they do have some breakfast business that could be seeded to our local chain, which is called Keys Cafe. Keys is already a very busy place. They already struggle with restaurant driver pickup times because of how successful they are. The breakfast orders. The closure of Perkins could pile on just a little bit to this and possibly aggravate things a little bit, but not much. What would the closure of, as I said, the closure of the Pizza Hut made absolutely no impact on our market at all. But what about you? Drop it in the comments below. See if there's anything that could possibly close in your near future using these signs, and let me know. I'll talk to you next time, and peace out, homies.